Hey guys, so this is Straight Edge by Minor Threat. Minor Threat was a punk band formed in the early 80s in Washington, D.C. They, along with fellow DC band Bad Brains, helped grow the do-it-yourself mentality for recording and distributing music independently. They only stayed together as a band for about 4 years, but their impact and music is still relevant today. Minor Threat was made up of Ian MacKaye, Jeff Nelson, Brian Baker, Lyle Presler, and later Steve Hansman. In accordance with this DIY mentality they had, frontman Ian MacKaye and Jeff Nelson created Dischord Records in order to release their music and the music of their friends. It was on this label that they released their entire discography. With this specific song, they helped give a name to the straight edge movement, which had been gaining traction in the underground scene for a few years prior. The movement focused on staying away from alcohol and drugs and keeping a sober mind. This song, Straight Edge, was off their first 7-inch record that they released in 1981. After its release, the band went on a short hiatus before regrouping and going on a tear of shows in the DC area. Alright, so with all that said, I'll play the song in its entirety to give you guys some reference, then I'll walk through it step by step. So you're thinking, where's the rest of the song, right? Nah, that's it. That's all there really needs to be. Short, sweet, and to the point. 47 seconds, and it created an entire movement. Punk music, especially American punk, like this was not recorded for high fidelity. It was capturing the feeling and the sound of going to a show. That was the essence of these bands. Slick production and high-tech gear was really not an option, so they used whatever they can scrounge up and just made a lot of noise. With that said, the ability of these records to stand up today is a testament to doing a lot with a little. Alright, so the first thing that really hits my ears is the guitar tone. It's that bass-heavy overdrive kind of roar that Lyle Presler created. And he created that with a Marshall JMP 2203 head into a Marshall 4x12 cabinet. This was the era of the big Marshall stacks. Every big band used them. But what was the next best thing if you couldn't afford a full stack? A half stack, and that's what Minor Threat as well as most other punk bands of this era used. The tone of the guitar was created with that amplifier alone, volume cranked until the signal was basically breaking apart. Lyle didn't use any pedals or anything to change the tone, he just plugged straight in and that's all he needed. If I had to guess what they used to mic up the cab, I'd probably say a Shure SM57, and they likely used it on about everything else too. With the vocals, it really wasn't about having a perfect performance in terms of pitch or tone. It's more about the attitude, and Jesus Christ, it's angsty. That's what it's all about. They likely used the SM57 or 58 to record them, as that's what they used live. They definitely had to compress the vocals a bit to volume match between the yelling parts and the slightly softer yelling parts, but other than that, some subtle reverb. They're pretty dry vocals. Pretty bog standard, stereotypical punk vocals. The bass is mixed so you can't really hear it super well. It's definitely there, it's just not standing out in the mix. Since that guitar part has so much low end, it kind of intrudes on the bass part's space. I can tell you that the bass part is just following the guitar part by just playing the root notes. If you heard them live, you'd feel the bass and the kick drum in your chest, and you'd hear the vocals and guitar in your ears. So basically, you'd feel the bass and hear the treble. The drums are pretty lo-fi, but that's really no surprise. A mic on the kick and an overhead mic is probably all they used. Maybe one on the snare as well, but 2 or 3 mics to do it. And that's really all there is to it. A simple but powerful tune. This was and still is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's not flashy, it's not overproduced. Some would argue it's barely produced, but I love it. Thanks for listening to me and have a good day. See ya.